established under the Michigan compiled laws and in accordance with the revisions of the Open Meetings Act adopted in Senate Bill 1108 as passed on October 13th, 2020, and signed into law on October 16th, 2020. A public announcement shall be made by each member who is attending the meeting remotely that he or she is attending the meeting remotely, and except for those in the military service, stating his or her physical location.
Commissioner Bernash.
Heather Bernash, appearing remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Hurley.
Hi, it's Mike Hurley, appearing remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Davis.
Beverly Davis, attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Nicewonder.
Kurt Nicewender, appearing remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Commissioner Scapani.
Joe Scapani, attending remotely from Flint, Michigan.
Okay, moving on. Additions or changes to the agenda. Do we have any additions or changes?
Commissioner Bernash, this is John Mateen. I put the agenda together, but and noticing now that Commissioner Scapani has a present application to present, would it be possible if Commissioner Wright does show up that we move that application after 413 Lion Street, just so that we can get the applicants heard, finish with him, and then go right back to the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
That would make sense.
I would like to make an amendment. If Commissioner Wright does not join on, we can postpone it till next month also.
Okay, so for now, we'll move it to the end of the applications. And when we get to it, if Commissioner Wright is not present yet, then we will adjourn it to next month. Are there any other additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, if there is, moving on to the next item, adoption of the agenda. If there's a motion to adopt the agenda with the change.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda with the change.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda is adopted with the change. Next item on the agenda, minutes of the previous meeting and disposal. So that is the minutes of the June 3rd meeting, which were emailed to us earlier today. If everybody could just take a minute and review those. Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Is there support?
I'll support.
And any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And minutes are adopted. And moving on to the next agenda item, a hearing from the public. This is where if anyone from the public is present at the meeting and would like to make a statement that does not have anything to do with the applications that are listed on our agenda for tonight, which would be 429 northbound Chavez, 703 Mason, 411 Lion, and 413 Lion. So if you'd like to discuss anything that is not related to one of those applications, now would be your time to make any general statements. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? And hearing no one, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is certificates of appropriateness and or notices to proceed. First applicant on the agenda is Riverside Tabernacle, 429 northbound Chavez in Flint. Is there someone here to present on that project?
Yes, I'm Howard. I'm representing the project there at Riverside. We were, here last month, and you had concerns, so we went back to the drawing board and put together a more closely thought of what we wanted this building to look like. And so this is our presentation to see if the changes would be acceptable.
Okay. And does anyone have any questions or any discussion on this project? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there support?
I support.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion?
Can I at this point ask a couple questions just to make sure we're clear?
Sure.
Sure.
On the drawings that we show a couple windows mainly, and we're not quite sure until we see window people if that's exactly what it would be. So is this something that we kind of have to make sure we stick to the drawings, or are we allowed a certain amount of leeway as long as it's kind of comes out the same?
Well, I guess I don't know that I'm speaking for the whole commission, but my impression of that would be, I mean, if it was, an inch or two in either direction, but as long as the materials are what you say they're going to be, and as long as the fenestration pattern, like it looks like, one panel beside another panel, sort of rectangular, one panel, another panel, as long as it has that fenestration pattern and is essentially that same shape and location and size, but if it varies by an inch or two, that's not a problem. But if it's going to be a completely different window, like a double tongue or, 4/4 or something, then yeah, I think we would need to have another discussion.
Yeah, that's pretty close to what we have in mind. We don't want a lot of windows, and we're going to have a pretty good sized door section that's in there. That's going to be automatic doors like you do in like grocery stores. But we just wanted to make sure that if that was the window that we had to work with exactly, or because we haven't talked to a window person exactly to see what it would take to build what we think is the size versus what would really be the size. But it would be that design. We'd hold to that because we don't want a lot of windows.
Right, and that's
available.
It looks like it's up higher. As long as it's not just like plates of glass across the entire facade of the building. A completely different window, you would need to come back.
Yeah, we are purposely doing windows like that for security reasons. People won't be able to look in and really see what's going on too easily and stuff. So, but we wanted to make sure that if we ran into a window issue, what was our leeway, if any?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, and Howard, I think my opinion, I think like Heather's, I think you're fine. I just want to make the point though that if you were actually working on a historic building, right, we couldn't be this lenient or this sort of
Flexible.
Flexible, right? So it's a new building on the site of a non-contributing resource. So there's a lot more leeway there. I just didn't want anybody to feel like this is precedent for, that it's just relaxed. Normally it wouldn't be.
Right. It's
Okay.
relaxed because it's not a historic building.
Yeah, that part there, I knew those have to be that way. There's
Right.
guidelines on that.
Okay. No, I just felt like
Okay.
I needed to say that.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
I just wanted to make sure, what leeway we may have on windows if we run into a problem. But
I had a question also, if I may ask. I'm Chris Hone. I'm with Case Construction. We're working with Howard on this project.
Okay.
The building as designed, the intent is for it to be a pre-engineered, essentially metal building. We'll have that block veneer on the front of the building with the windows and things. With the lead times for pre-engineered buildings, I'm hearing they could be as far out as 30 weeks. So, I mean, we're talking like it could be into next April to get these buildings. A couple things. First of all, depending on how financing and budgets and things come to back, on this, would you guys entertain if we were to go to an all block building, same style and things, if it was all masonry? I mean, the windows would be the same things, but maybe that as an option to the pre-engineered. We're certainly going to look at the pre-engineered first, but we didn't want to go down that road until we had approval that could proceed. But I kind of heard through the grapevine on another project that some of these manufacturers are extremely out there, in terms of time frame, and depending on, again, how budget comes in and how Howard and the board feel there at the church, if they don't want to wait that long, would that be an option, or would we have to come back through this again? Or is there a way that we could kind of have that determined now, I guess, while we're at this meeting, that our first option would be to build it as it's drawn there, but as an alternative to maybe go with block walls all the way around, and then put a wood roof, a wood structure on the roof, and just duplicate it with wood trusses.
Okay, so you're saying where it shows brick just sort of around the bottom half of the building, you're saying that pattern of brick would be the whole building all the way up?
It was just, that would be a possibility. Yes, I guess. I mean, would that be feasible, or I don't know. I don't know what you'd have to do. We could probably build the stick frame it as well. That's another option. We could actually stick frame it and just put siding on it, just like what it is. But if we went with block, then it's just a masonry structure, and it gives you all your bearing and everything right there. But yes, it would be block. I don't know whether we could allow it to go with block all the way up, or we could make that exterior look with doing it a lump, building it out of conventional framing essentially, and putting a metal skin on the outside and making it look like that. But the intent was originally to be a pre-engineered building. But again, with the lead times on where we are right now with steel, I just heard this thing shortly before 5 o'clock on another project that they're out there a ways. So
I don't want to speak for everybody, but my opinion is that we can only sort of rule on the application that's in front of us. Okay. And so if you're going to make significant changes to it, I think it would require another application.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm one person. The other folks, I mean, what do you feel? That's my first take.
I would agree with that, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Mike.
All right. Well, I guess we're just presenting the aesthetics of it. So we'll look into whether it become a pre-engineered building with the availability, or we'll just switch it over to a wood frame building, and the outside will still look the same. Because it sounds like the aesthetics are what you're concerned about, and not really how it's constructed.
Right.
Okay. Enough. That'll take care of that.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Because our biggest concern is the appearance, of this
Sure.
building in a historic district. And if your alternate proposal would be a significantly different appearance, maybe no more pleasing or objectionable either way, but it's
Sure.
a different appearance. And
Right.
this is what we're discussing and looking at and approving, and it's kind of hard to just give up a blanket open approval to whatever you come up, whatever you decide after the fact. So
Okay.
I think we can probably go ahead and vote on this, and if there's significant changes, you would just have to come back and
Sure.
ask for a modification. But our approval is good for a year.
Okay.
So it
I was
won't
going to ask how
expire for a year.
long this is good for. Okay.
That's what we wanted to know as well. So perfect.
Okay. So is there any other discussion?
Oh, I had a question regarding, in looking at the drawings, it shows now that there's a dumpster enclosure to the northeast of the new building, and it says on the plan new wood screen dumpster enclosure. So, but there's no drawing. I didn't see a drawing of the actual, the dumpster enclosure elevations. Any guess, any hints as to what kind of wood screened enclosure that's intended to be, appearance wise, and the gates?
It would probably be just a 6 foot high dog-eared, dumpster enclosure. Right now, they don't have an enclosure there, but we're assuming that if we go through the city, to put this addition on, and this building is so close in proximity to that existing space where the dumpster is, I think the architect made the assumption that they may require an enclosure. So we really hadn't dove into that as much as the building structure itself.
Okay.
There's no other discussion. We have a motion and support on the floor. If we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Nicewander,
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani.
Yes.
Application is approved as presented. So the certificate of appropriateness, probably in the next day or two, I'll go to City Hall and sign it, and then they'll call you and you can come and pick up your copy and get your building permits.
Okay, much appreciated.
You're welcome. And you're free to stay, but you're also free to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next application on the agenda is 411 Lion Street. Is anyone here to present on that project? Okay, if you could unmute, perfect. And normally we'd be all around a table in person together, and the presenter would stand up and kind of give us a little presentation, just explain what the project is, and then we just kind of shoot questions out in a free form. So if you want to just kind of explain what you're doing.
Okay, my name is John Costa. Representing Communities First with Glenn and Mike. They're both somewhere out there.
I'm here.
Okay. So we're back before you. We were before you a couple of years ago, initially for this project, and we're back again. There was a timeline issue, I understand, and then just an explanation of further of what's happening and materials on the exterior of the building. It's an existing, it was been vacant for many, many years. 3-story apartment building, 26 units on the corner of Lion and First Avenue. And what we presented, or what we submitted, was indicating the work and the materials that will be visible from the street. And it's an existing brick building, brick structure, masonry, load bearing. And the masonry was in phenomenal shape, considering how old it was and in disrepair and how long it sat empty. So there was very minor repair work required for the masonry. We're essentially rebuilding the 26 units that were there before, kind of reconfiguring some of them. Adding balconies where there used to be, there were little bay windows that protruded out. Those had all decayed and were removed prior to the start of the project. And in place of those, at those openings, we put the sliding doors with the balconies. We, on my submission showed the different materials, asphalt shingles, the aluminum railing that we're using. We're also using that same style and color of material for the gates. There should have been a site plan with this submission also. And there's gates, there's 2 existing driveways leading in and out of the site, one on Lyon and one on First Avenue. And those will be access controlled sliding vehicle gates and of the same material. We have light sconce, wall sconce lighting at each balcony. And we show those on the drawing, and I have the photo of what we're using there. All the windows and all the sliding doors are within existing openings. We didn't actually create any new openings in the building at all for those faces. What we did create was the HVAC units in most of those are at locations where there was previously an opening where there was a through wall air conditioning unit. And so we tried to locate all our units in those same places and just made those openings a little larger with louvers. We retained the glass block accents that were there from before. We retained the entry locations where they were before. Yeah, I think that's about it. There was 6, or not 6. There was a number of 4 units on the ground floor had little below grade patios that were pretty deteriorated, and they were just stacked up broken concrete retaining walls, and those are being removed and replaced with a different retaining wall system. Most of that will not be visible from the street because it's about 2.5 feet below grade, and it will only pop up just above grade, just enough to enclose that area. Not close it off, but just to as far as replace the retaining wall that was there, just to hold back the dirt. When I show that material, and that's essentially it.
Yeah, and this is Glenn. I just want to add something. It's like today, I think today, because I had talked this about John before we went over the timeline for everything for the project. We had already started work, but we had to stop because of COVID when we started stuff in February. So I just wanted to bring that up to everyone just online, so they're fairly aware of that. But we started in February, and then we had to stop because of COVID, and then building permits. But we did start before the certificate of appropriateness ran out. The stuff that we needed, we started on stuff we didn't need permits for. So I just wanted to make sure I clarify that. So we're not looking for approvals for today. We're just seeking approvals for the fencing, which we know we need to come back for, the entryway that John mentioned, and the lighting stones, which is like a mid-century modern lighting stones that we had on the building. Plus, we know we need to come back for the house for some repairs there on the 413 Main Street.
So John, this is Mike Hurley. So it sounds, can you just, I think Glenn already did it just now, but so what's different on this application that wasn't, I mean, we had already approved the main project. And I think as long as you started within that 1 year time frame, you're okay on that. So, but if there's additions here or changes, maybe you could just kind of review that a little more. I know there's fencing.
There's fencing, the new entry, and the lighting. And John can go through those.
So I'm looking at the application. I see, I guess, where should I be looking at these little photos of railing or aluminum fence and wall sconces? Is that what I should be focused on?
Yeah, that's the product that's being used, and the locations are shown on the building elevations.
The only other thing left out was the patio, the retaining wall patio.
Okay. So that wasn't on the first application either?
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks. It was just existing. It was existing at the time, and then we got in there and it was not in either good condition, wasn't in good condition, and it didn't look good.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure where I should be focused. So those little color photos off to the left.
Correct.
All right.
Do you want us to talk?
Is the ground floor? Oh, sorry. I was just those ground floor or those below grade patios. Is the retaining wall are you going to put a railing on top of that, or is it going to be all the block retaining wall to a guardrail height?
Well, there's going to be landscaping actually in front of those areas. So there's no pedestrian crosswalk or anything anywhere near that. There's no adjacent walking surfaces. And the difference from grade to the floor below, I guess, is somewhere around 30 inches or less. So it from a building code standpoint, it's not there. We felt if we put a railing up on top of the wall, then when you're in that little courtyard patio, you're going to feel like you're, in a gated box. Because, if you put a 3-foot thing on top of the wall, then it's 7 feet to the top from the floor. So.
I have a question. Where's the retaining wall? What street? Is that on Lion Street or on First or?
There's 2 on Lion and there's 2 on First.
All right. Are they right up by the building or?
Oh yeah. This just delineates a patio that comes out from each of the unit, and I'm gonna say it only comes out from the building maybe 4 or 5 feet. They don't come out to the street, and they shouldn't be really visible from the street either. They'll just barely pop up above grade, and there'll be landscaping in front of them.
Okay.
I just wanted to double check if it was a retaining wall against the property line. That's all.
No, nowhere close to the property.
All right.
Well, obviously we can keep discussing, but I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application as submitted.
Is there support for that?
Support.
We have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion? I see the current application, and I don't have any issues with the fencing, the sconces, any of the materials, the shingles, retaining wall. It all looks good to me. I know that there was some public discussion, I believe, maybe it was 2 meetings ago, a few neighbors showed up to discuss the previous application of work that had already been approved and done, which caused us to have to go back and review the meeting minutes from over a year ago and that discussion. And there was some concern about if we can, I know doesn't have anything to do with the current application, but if we could just address it just to do our due diligence, because residents and neighbors were asking questions. The flooring on the decks, the little decks that are up, you know, the sliding doors for each unit, we never discussed it at all. It's not in the minutes anyways. I don't have a personal recollection, but in the meeting minutes, we never discussed what the flooring material would be. And apparently it's some sort of composite, not like wood. So I didn't know if we could just discuss that briefly. And then also, I believe there was a statement made when we reviewed the minute, when I reviewed the minutes, that said no new holes would be put in any of the facades whatsoever. And some of the residents were saying, and I believe Mr. Costa, you indicated as well that some of the openings were made bigger for HVAC. If you could just briefly discuss what those two issues that I think the neighbors were concerned about.
Is regarding the no new holes. I mean, I don't recall any statement like that previously from us that we wouldn't be penetrating the masonry at all. We weren't adding windows or doorways, but you know, we have to put penetrations for exhaust, for dryers, and for the bathroom exhaust fans and things like that. So we knew there would be some things. And then the actual HVAC units are through the wall units, and those were part of the original plan before. So that didn't change from before, and we showed those before. The building itself, I think the statement was we weren't adding on to the building. There was no new construction in that sense. And that was the terminology that was used. But I don't believe we ever said we weren't going to cut any holes in the masonry or anything like that. So as far as that item goes, the new balconies are wood frame, and the cantilever out from the existing structure, and the flooring is a composite decking, as well as the trim material is a composite deck material for the trim that for the face of the balcony itself. Otherwise, there's no other wood added around the window. You know, there was no wood trim around the windows that we removed and replaced. Those are just masonry openings. So it's at all the balconies that we show have that composite decking and trim.
Okay. And can you see the flooring from the side? If you're standing down on the sidewalk and looking up 2 or 3 stories, I mean, can you see the flooring of the decks?
Possibly. I don't think so. You see the framing from below. There's no ceiling.
Yeah, it's wood. It's wood looking from below. So if you looked up under it, it's wood.
The framing of the balcony itself is what's visible.
Okay. Okay, and this is just an ancillary discussion. It has nothing to do with how we're going to vote on your current application. Right. I just wanted to address those 2 issues because the neighbors had some concerns.
And then also, I just want to bring up this is also, even from some of the statements that they brought up, this also is a non-contributing structure to Kerristown. And we actually tried to get it listed on the National Historic Places Register, and it was turned down twice. So, you know, the property has no historical significance whatsoever. And they said it had no it added no historical value to the Kerristown, and it was considered non-contributing, and they wouldn't approve the application. And like I said, we went back twice for that. So,
and we did have that discussion with the residents as well, that non-contributing structures, the rules are a little more lax as far as what we would approve as far as composite material. But I think that was probably, I don't know if it fell through the cracks or if that was our failing. We just never discussed what the flooring of those decks would be. But personally, I don't have a problem with composite on a non-contributing structure in this instance. And, you know, I don't think non-contributing structures are supposed to be held to the same standard as historic structures are. So, but
I do have
again, just wanted to have the discussion.
I have a question on are you guys, the fencing that you guys are, the aluminum fencing, is that replacing the chain link fencing that's there?
Yeah, so there's two existing chain link gates, and those are both coming off and being replaced by this.
All right, that was my curiosity. I mean, I think with historic, with the non-contributing, I think what it says is it has to complement or, not stand out. So, I mean, I'm okay with the composite. As long as it doesn't stand out and like a sore thumb, and it looks like wood, and then that I'm good with that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. If we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright? Commissioner Nicewander?
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani?
Yes.
All right. Application is approved as presented. And same thing, I'll be in City Hall as soon as they get these certificates drafted up tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday, depending on the holiday weekend, I don't know. But as soon as we get them signed, they will call you guys and get them to you so you can get your building permits.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome to stay, but I'm sure you don't want to.
I think we have another one.
Okay.
Yeah, we got one.
Do you have another one?
Unless they were both approved, then we can
you better
get on out of here. Thanks.
You stay right where you're at.
Okay. Moving on to the next.
I was about to go for a run.
Application on the agenda is 413 Lion Street. Is anyone here to present on that project?
I'm here. Same group.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is the adjacent structure to 411. It's directly to the north. It will be part of our project. The renovations happening here are primarily on the inside as far as from a programmatic standpoint. There'll be a one unit upstairs, and the ground floor will serve as community space for the adjacent apartment building. The exterior rehabilitation that we're doing is basically repairs. There's an existing masonry chimney that was part of a fireplace that is no longer in working order, but the chimney itself has deteriorated quite a bit and needs some attention. So we're planning on repairing the loose brick, remortar and tuck pointing, but leaving that chimney in place. Similarly, the siding has been unpainted for a while, and various sections need replacing or repairing, and we're planning to do that, matching the exact same profile, same material at the wood siding, and we're planning on painting that. There's a couple of windows up in the attic area in louver that are missing. So we want to replace those to match the existing first and second floor window. Those will be fixed. They won't be operable. And there's some masonry repairs on the main level also that we'll be doing. But the intent is to keep it looking essentially the way it is, just bring it back to life.
So my question is, what material will you use to replace the window?
Well, the current first and second floor windows are vinyl, and I believe our intent is just to use the same, try to match the same profile, same color, same style as what's there, other than they'll be fixed versus a double hung.
Because they should be wood.
Even though the existing
for all those windows in the house are already vinyl, so they've all been. I mean, we didn't do that. whoever did it previously. So that, you know, with the they were already, those windows are already in place when we bought it. So I mean, we didn't change any window.
Right, but we wouldn't have given permission for vinyl windows, is what I'm saying, and to replace a wood window with a vinyl window because someone else didn't do the approval process.
Well, the only issue that we have now is that there's some windows missing. There's some windows missing in the attic, which that's what we're trying to replace. And this is like a very small window. So it's not a very large window that's, and those are on the drawing. Like you really can't see those windows like that. And so we were just trying to make sure they just matched, so that everything just looked like it matched. But yeah, all those windows were already changed. They had already changed those windows out.
So all the windows in the house are vinyl now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
every last window in that house is vinyl, and then the attic has those missing windows that we're coming with now. It just has like a piece of glass up there that's just making it look like a window, and then some of it is missing as well. So what we're trying to do is just replace it just to make everything match.
So you're only replacing a few of the windows?
No, they're not. It's like a very small, like, what is it, John? Like 2 windows in the attic, like under the louver or something,
Right.
like under something.
It's three small spots, but there's no wind. Like Glenn said, there might just be storm windows in that spot right now. There's not an actual window. So we just wanted to fill that opening properly versus eliminating the windows and changing the look.
Yeah, I think a notice to proceed might be the appropriate, if we choose to approve it, you know, for at least for the window.
And it's unfortunate that the original windows have been removed, because that would be our first priority, is to first of all try to fix what's there and repair it, and if it can't be repaired, then replace it with like. But if the original has already
aluminum clad,
if it's already been removed, if they're all already gone, there's nothing we can do about it. So now I think the next most important priority would be uniformity, like you're saying. I think if we put in 2 wood windows up top, but everything else is vinyl, I think that's going to look not right. You know, you're going to see the contrast or the difference. In a perfect world, I would love for them all to be replaced and them all to be wood, but that's not what the application is. So I think we, to some extent, have to work with what we have here. And if those are the only 2 that need to be replaced, I think them all being uniform and the same material so that nothing sticks out and looks funny is probably most important right now. But that's just my opinion.
Excuse me. Sorry. Judging by the existing photography, the say second floor front facade windows are like those vinyl windows, and then they're wrapped. Is that wood? Or
yeah, I think that's the original wood trim on the house. Yep.
Even on the second floor? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So, and then the attic window, looks a little less less good. It's needing repair.
Yeah,
so
there's really nothing there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it'll be all. So
that's
well. I guess the question is, you're proposing to paint that like a weathered shingle color brown. So the ones on the second floor are white. Are you going to paint that brown as well, all the way around?
The trim will be, yeah.
Okay.
But the frame of the window will match the other white windows.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay.
And what type? I mean, are they going to open? Or are they going to be just windows that are just in?
They'll be fixed. There's no intention to occupy. There's not even access to the attic.
And the trim will stay around it?
Correct.
The wood trim?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. In the perfect world, if there was windows there, our goal would be to try to replace them with, either something that matches them historically, that's either approved fiberglass or an approved aluminum clad or something like that. That would, what I'm saying, like if it was a historical building, we would have, I mean, it is an historical house, but I'm saying, like, if we had to do some window replacement, like what Heather has said earlier, we've replaced a lot of historical windows before, so we definitely understand that aspect. And like she mentioned, it would just definitely look out of place because it already looks out of place now. With either nothing there or non-uniformity. So we're just trying to do what we can. But like we're saying, we're doing everything else to keep it as original as possible. This is kind of the only piece that's kind of deterring from that.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the application, Commissioner Hurley did mention providing a notice to proceed versus a certificate of appropriateness. So was that an amended motion? Or a motion to amend the?
So your motion would be to approve a notice to proceed as presented.
Yes. So yes. So there we go. To make sure we are consistent. I make a motion to issue a notice to proceed with the proposed design.
And is there support for that?
There is.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, if we could have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bernash?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright? Commissioner Niceslander?
Yes.
Commissioner Scapani?
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. So that one will be a notice to proceed simply because it's not historic materials that are being used on the windows. And so we're approving it, but it's less than enthusiastic is basically what the difference is between a notice to proceed and a certificate of appropriateness. Like vinyl is never appropriate in a historic district on a historic structure, but we work with what we have. So, you got our seal of approval, but it's just a notice to proceed, but we're not going to stop you. So
thank you.
So good luck with both projects. And thank you for presenting to us tonight. I'll be signing the application, the notices and the certificates of appropriateness the next couple days. And you guys will get a phone call to come pick them up.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. We greatly appreciate it. And we definitely don't think that the windows should have went in there either, but it's nothing. That was the previous owners. There's nothing we can do about it. So, all right. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
What we have. Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. Next agenda item is old business. Michigan Historic Preservation Network training. They have emailed me. And I don't know how long ago, it's in my email somewhere, but I did get an email from them inquiring about the next training, what topics, when, things like that. So if anybody has any ideas, so when I respond to them, I think it worked pretty good last time, having it at our meeting when we didn't have much on the agenda. It seems like we're getting busier though, so I don't know whether that'll work again or not.
I think that works fine, Heather, as long as the agenda,
okay,
is light. And were you saying ideas for topics that we'd like to be trained on?
Yeah.
I guess the one that comes to my mind, because it's come up recently several times, is if they could talk more about dealing with non-contributing resources.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we handle new construction, things like that.
Yeah. It's one thing, right? When it's a historic building, it's a little more straightforward. when it's not a non-contributing resource, you know, what really is our,
how do we strike the balance?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, right? I know the scale and the setback and things like that need to be appropriate, you know, to fit in with the historic district.
Right.
But beyond that, you know, holding people to use materials or, you know, finishes that we normally would, you know, how.
And we don't want a phony cookie cutter, you know,
Right.
false sense of history either. We're not trying to present a new building as being historic. So it does need to look distinct and different and new.
Yep.
But not stick out like a sore thumb. So
Well,
yeah,
and,
striking that balance.
And even just the process of determining, is this a contributing resource or not? Because I don't think that's necessarily spelled out every time. It's sort of up to us to say, oh, well, that building is not from the period of significance or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, what is really the criteria to even determine that?
Sure.
You know, because it could be a building that's over 50 years old, say, right. But the district is from turn of the century. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Has the building taken on its own historic significance?
Right.
You know, even though it's not from the period. Yeah, just questions like that I don't really know the answers to.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I'd also like to talk about you know, new construction and that kind of stuff.
New construction. Okay. And non-contributing. Okay. So I'll email them back with this feedback, and maybe they'll get us some dates and have some other suggestions too on what they want to teach us about. Next item on old business is the bricks on Saginaw Street. If there's any update, any progress, anybody have any information about that?
No, this is John. I think Bill is online, but I can speak, Bill, if you are okay with that. So I talked to Mark Adis. Bill talked to him as well, and they are waiting to secure funding. And Mark Adis said that they should have further knowledge on that towards the end of July, and they plan on coming to the Historic District Commission meeting in August. So that first meeting, or during the first week, to present their plans and the application and go from there.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Any other old business? Hearing none. Moving on to new business. New business. Hearing none. My favorite agenda item, the adjournment. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And is there support?
Support.
Any discussion? Hearing none. If we could, I'll just in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Okay. And meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Awesome. And John, you can put mine on next month.
Okay, will do.
That'll be good. Thank you.